Assalamu alaikum class. In the previous video we have discussed about the normed spaces, and now we are going to learn about some important remarks on normed spaces. So the first one is that every normed space is a metric space with a metric d from n cross n to r defined by d of xy is equal to norm of x minus y for all xy belonging to n. So what we want to say that every normed space is a metric space, and we have defined the metric in terms of norm as d of xy is equal to norm of x minus y. So let's suppose we are having a normed space represented over here. We have to show that d defined in this definition is a metric. So if we want to show that a function to be a metric, we have to show that it satisfies the properties of metric. So now we will show that d is satisfying the properties of metric, keeping in mind that we have taken this function to be a norm function, that is, it satisfies all the properties of norm. So the first condition for metric space is this, that or for metric function is this, that d of xy should be a non-negative number. So d of xy is equal to norm of xy x minus y by definition, and we know that by condition of norm is a non-negative number, so we can easily say that it is a non-negative, that is greater than or equal to 0. Now for the second part of this condition, that d of xy is equal to 0 if and only if x is equal to y. Now d of xy will be 0 if and only if norm of x minus y is equal to 0 by definition. So by condition of norm will be 0 if and only if the term over which we are applying the norm is 0. So we will say that x minus y is equal to 0 or x is equal to y. Hence the first condition is satisfied for a function to be metric. Now here we have the second one, that for all xy belonging to n, d of xy will be equal to norm of x minus y. Basically it is for the symmetric property. So what we are going to do, we will take minus 1 common from this one. So minus 1 into y minus x. Here we can apply the property of norm, that we can take it out as a mod of the scalar multiplication, and norm will be as it is. So we will say that it will be equal to mod of minus 1 into norm of y minus x, which is equal to norm of y minus x, which is equal to d of yx. Hence the symmetric property is also verified over here. Now for the third one, for all x y z belonging to n, the norm space, let d of xz is equal to norm of xz. This is for the triangle inequality, so we are going to introduce other element y. So we are going to add and subtract y in this expression. So we can apply the property of norm or the condition of norm, that it will be less than or equal to the first term plus norm of the second term, which is equal to d of xy plus d of yz. Hence the triangle inequality is also proved, and now we can say that every norm space is also a metric space with the particular metric defined previously. Now we are going to define some important definitions, like which is defined in metric spaces, as we have open ball and sphere, and here you can see that we can define these in terms of norm instead of metric, because we are saying that every norm space is a metric space. So the terms that we normally use in metric also hold for the normed. So we know that in metric spaces we define the open ball to be b of a r, where a will be the center and r is the radius of the ball, for x belonging to n, such that d of ax is less than r, that is, we are having a collection of all the elements whose distance from a is less than r, because we are talking about the open ball. So here we can say in terms of norm that d of x aax will be equal to norm of x minus a, which is less than r. So here we are defining an open ball in terms of metric. Second one is for sphere, which is defined to be the set of elements x belonging to n, such that d of ax is equal to r, because sphere means we are on the boundary point. So here you can see that in terms of norm it will be equal to norm of x minus a is equal to r. Here we have another remark, and it is again a really very important, because it will further use in the proofs, that for all xy belonging to n, mod of norm of x minus norm of y is less than or equal to norm of x minus y. So in order to prove this inequality, we will use the result that mod of a is less than or equal to c if and only if minus c is less than a less than c. So this result mostly used or discussed in detail in real analysis, that whenever whenever mod of a is less than or equal to c, we can easily say that minus c is less than or equal to a less than or equal to c. So we will prove this inequality on the basis of this result. So consider norm of x is equal to norm of x plus x minus y plus y. We have simply added and subtracted y in it. Now we can apply the triangle inequality over norm. So it will be less than or equal to the first norm of first element plus norm of second element, and now I can subtract this norm of y on the other side. So here I having the first inequality, norm of x minus norm of y is less than or equal to norm of x minus y. Now for the second one, consider norm of y, and now we are adding and subtracting x. Again applying triangle inequality, we get this result. Now we know that norm of y minus x is always equal to norm of x minus y, because we will just take a one common from this, minus one common from this, and then we will apply the property of norm as we have done previously for the metric spaces, that minus 1 into x minus y norm will be equal to minus 1 mod into norm of x minus y. So minus 1 mod will be plus 1, so norm of y minus x can be replaced with norm of x minus y plus x, and this term will be subtracted over here. So this is your second inequality. Now if I take minus 1, or if I multiply minus 1 on both sides, what I will have, negative times of norm of y minus norm of x is greater than or equal to negative times of norm of x minus y. We have just multiplied minus 1 on both sides of this inequality, and here we get the other inequality, that minus times of norm of x minus y will be equal to, when we multiply minus 1 over here, we will get norm of x minus norm of y, because it will change the sign of the expression. Now we will combine the first and second inequality on the basis of this result, that norm of x minus norm of y is less than or equal to norm of x minus y. So here we have combined the first and third inequality, that minus times of, here you can see that minus times of norm of x minus y is less than or equal to norm of x minus norm of y, and norm of x minus norm of y is less than or equal to norm of x minus y by inequality 1. So here we have the final result that we have to prove. So there is a third remark, that the norm function from n to r is uniformly continuous. So before proving it, we will have a short review of uniformly continuity. So for uniformly continuous functions, what we have, that for every epsilon, what is the condition, that for every epsilon positive, there exists a delta positive, where we know that epsilon and delta are positive small numbers, such that f of x minus f of y mod is less than epsilon whenever x minus y mod is less than delta for all x y belonging to R. So here what we want to say in uniformly continuity, that whenever any two elements from the domain are getting closer and closer to each other, their corresponding functional values are also getting closer and closer to each other. So this is named as uniformly continuous functions. We normally discuss it in detail in real analysis. So here we are going to prove this result, that for every epsilon positive, let we take epsilon to be delta, because we know that epsilon and delta are both positive small numbers, so we can take epsilon to be equal to delta. Then for all x y belonging to n, what we can say, that if x minus y mod is less than delta, then by using the previous result, we can say that mod of norm of x minus norm of y is less than or equal to norm of x minus y, which is less than delta, which we have taken to be equal to epsilon. So here we have the result that we have to prove for uniformly continuous functions, and hence we have proved that norm is a uniformly continuous function. Next we have a theorem that for all x, y and z belonging to the normed space, we have d of x plus z y plus z is equal to d of xy. So what we are saying, this is also named as translation invariance, that when I'm going to add the same element in the both coordinates x and y, there will be no effect on the distance will be the same. So for all x, y, z belonging to n, d of x plus z and y plus z, by definition it will be equal to norm of x plus z minus times y plus z. So minus y minus z, this will be cancelled out, and hence we have proved that it is equal to d of x, y. This is also named as translation invariance, that is, by shifting a point from one to the other, the distance will not be the change. In this property translation invariance, basically we want to say that let's suppose we are finding the distance between the points 1 and 2, and it will be equal to norm of 2 minus 1, that is 1. But if I translate both points with the same number, that is I'm going to add 2 in the both numbers, so it will be equal to 3, it will be 4, and the distance between 3 and 4 is again 1 unit. So this is what the translation invariance says, that if we shift both points by the same distance, then the distance between the original points will remain the same. There will be no effect on it. Now we have the second part of the theorem, that for any scalar a and xy belonging to the norm space, d of ax ay will be equal to mod of a d of xy. So here we have taken d of ax ay, which by definition going to be a norm of ax minus ay, and by applying the condition or axiom of norm, we can take mod of a common or out of the norm. So here we have proved the result. Now we have another theorem, that for a norm space n, the function f from n cross n to n defined by f of xy is equal to x plus y for all xy belonging to n is uniformly continuous function. So here you can see that we are having a function depending on the two variables x and y. So how we can define uniformly continuity in such functions? So here we have a brief review of it, that a function f from n cross n to r is uniformly continuous. It will be uniformly continuous if for each epsilon positive there exists a delta positive, such that f of xy minus f of x prime y prime mod is less than delta whenever less than epsilon, whenever x minus x prime is less than delta and y minus y prime is less than delta. So this is the same as we have discussed previously, that for one variable function, the function is said to be uniformly continuous if whenever the elements are getting closer and closer to each other, their corresponding functional values must come closer and closer to each other as well. So the same condition is stating over here. So when we are going to prove the result, given that epsilon positive and x y belonging to n, let's take delta to be epsilon by 2. In such proofs, we do not take delta at first. We normally check out at what we need at the end, and then we take delta to be the condition in terms of epsilon. So when we are going to prove this result, we will not define delta to be epsilon by 2 at first. We will say that I am going to take delta is equal to dash. We will just blank it, put it blank, and then we will check that at the end what we need. It's epsilon by 2, sometimes it's epsilon by 3, sometimes we need epsilon by 5, sometimes we need 2 times of epsilon. So it all depends on the condition that we are going to have it then. So at first you will only write delta, and then we will check out the condition at what you are needed in order to prove the result. So let's x minus x prime norm is less than delta and y minus y prime norm is less than delta. So consider the condition that we have to prove to be less than epsilon. Norm of f of x y minus f of x prime y prime is equal to norm of x plus y minus norm of x prime plus y prime by definition, because f of x y is equal to x plus y and f of x prime y prime will be equal to x prime plus y prime. Now simplifying it, we get x minus x prime and y minus y prime. Applying the property, we will get it will be less than or equal to norm of x minus x prime plus y minus y prime. Now this we have taken to be less than delta, and this one is also less than delta. So we have saying that this term is less than delta plus delta, which is equal to 2 times of delta. Now as we need to be put epsilon over here, that's why I am going to take delta to be epsilon by 2, so that 2 and 2 will be cancelled out and we will get the required result. This is how we define delta in terms of epsilon. And this is the condition that we have to prove, and we have proved that the given function is uniformly continuous. In such cases, a question may arise in one's mind that is it possible or is it always necessary that x minus x prime norm is less than delta and y minus y prime norm is also less than the same number delta, or is it possible that we could have some different numbers like delta could be equal to 0.1 for this and 0.01 for this? Yes, it is possible, because it is not necessary that we have both delta or both terms to be equal. Maybe these terms are very closer to each other and these terms are a little bit closer to each other. That is, the distance between them is 0.1 and distance between y and y prime could be 0.01. So it is not necessary that both are the same numbers, but we can make it to be the same. And here you can see that let's x minus x prime is less than delta 1 and y minus y prime is less than delta 2, and let me define delta to be the minimum of the two numbers. If delta is defined to be the minimum of two numbers, then obviously it will be satisfy both conditions at the same time. And how it will be satisfied? Let's suppose delta 1 is equal to 1 and this is equal to 2, and we are saying that delta is minimum of the two, that is delta is equal to 1. So if this term is less than 1, then obviously this term is less than 2, then this condition also satisfied over here. Now we have an equivalent statement for the above theorem, that for all x, y belonging to n and for any epsilon positive, the open ball with center at x and radius epsilon by 2 plus open ball centered at y with radius epsilon by 2 is a subset of the open ball x plus y center and radius is epsilon. So since we know that the open ball is defined to be the norm of x minus a is less than r, the set of all elements such that norm of x minus a is less than r. So for x prime belonging to the ball with center at x and radius epsilon by 2, it means that x prime minus x norm is less than epsilon by 2 by the definition of open ball. And if y prime belongs to the second ball, so obviously this condition would also hold over here. Now if x prime belongs to the ball centered at x and y prime belongs to the ball centered at y, so x prime plus y prime will belongs to this addition. So now consider x prime plus y prime minus x plus y. Why we are considering this? Because we want to prove that x prime plus y prime belongs to this ball, that is the distance between this element and the center is less than epsilon. So that's why we are considering this expression, so that we will prove that it is less than epsilon, and then we will say as the distance between x prime plus y prime is less than epsilon, distance between x prime plus y prime and x plus y, the center of the ball, is less than epsilon. That's why this point will contained in the open ball. So we are considering this expression and we are just simplifying it with x prime minus x plus y prime minus y, applying the triangle inequality for norms, and this term is less than epsilon by 2, this term is also less than epsilon by 2, and hence we get the term to be less than epsilon, and which is showing that this element belongs to the open ball centered at x plus y and radius epsilon. This is what we have to prove, that this additional set, this one is a subset of the open ball, because in any arbitrary element belonging to this set is also an element of the open ball x plus y centered at x plus y with radius epsilon. That's why the proof is complete over here. Now this is the second proof that you have to complete by on your own. Here we have another important theorem, that for any fixed scalar a, the function ha from n to n defined by a of x is equal to a into x, where a is any scalar defined over here, is continuous function. So if a is some scalar, then it means that there are two possible values for a, that it could be 0 or it could be non-zero. So we are considering the case 1. If a is equal to 0, then obviously a of x will be equal to 0, because 0 into something is always 0. So for any epsilon positive, there exists a delta positive such that for x prime belonging to n, ha of x minus ha of x prime norm will be equal to norm of 0, because both terms will be equal to 0. Norm of 0 is equal to 0, or which term less than is epsilon, because epsilon is a positive number. So it means that we are having so many choices for delta. That's why we can say that the term hold this condition hold that h a of x minus h a of x prime norm is less than epsilon whenever x minus x prime is less than delta, so the function is uniformly continuous for a is equal to 0. Now we are considering the case when a is not equal to 0. So if a is a non-zero number, then obviously h a of x will be defined as ax for all x belonging to the norm space n. Now for any epsilon positive, we are going to choose delta again. We will put it blank first and then we will check that what is needed expression over here. So that if x minus x norm, x prime norm is less than delta, then we are again considering the function that we have to prove to be less than epsilon. So h a of x minus h a of x prime norm will be equal to, by definition, this is will be equal to ax, this will be equal to ax prime. So mod of a norm of x minus x prime, which is equal to this expression by applying the property of norm, and hence this expression, if I put this expression to be less than epsilon by delta, epsilon by mod of a, then we can prove it to be, because these two terms will be cancelled out. That's why we have chosen delta to be is equal to epsilon by mod of a over here, because this expression is less than delta, so we will put delta to be epsilon by a, so that the two terms will be cancelled out and we get the required result. So this is how we get the result that h a of x minus h a of x prime norm is less than epsilon whenever x minus x prime is less than delta, which shows that h a of x is uniformly continuous. Now we know that every uniformly continuous function is also continuous. That's why we are saying that for any fixed scalar a, h a of x is continuous. This is what we have to prove.